Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mortgage Coach Tuesday interview. I don't know that there's a realtor I have interviewed more than Glenn Bill. What's up, Glenn?
What is up, my partner and my friend and my mentor, Dave Savage? It's great to be back in Mortgage Coach with you, my friend. It's great to be back, always.
Well, every time you talk, it reminds me why you are the most interviewed realtor in the Mortgage Coach community. It's because your energy is just ridiculous. It's like every time I'm in a room with you, I feel like I got an energy therapy session.
I may have to work. I may have to write a book about that or something. That's good. Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and I love everybody in this group, and thank everybody for engaging with me. A lot of the Mortgage Coach people are texting me and emailing me and Facebooking me, and just really, really appreciate being a part of this unreal community that you've created.
Well, thank you for your part in it. We also have Gary Brackett for the second time. What's up, Gary?
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm excited as well. Like Glenn, man, it's nothing like a good team, right? Learning, feeding from one another, growing together. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, it was great to meet you that first time when you came in last minute. And so anyone who doesn't know who Gary is, Super Bowl champion, watch the last interview we did. I'll put a link down below. It was insane. I think was it into July or was it August? But I know we framed it around halftime. You know, how preparing for a halftime in a Super Bowl relates to the mortgage and real estate business.
Yeah, I believe it was the end of June, and it was all about halftime, and it was kind of an off-the-cuff thing, and I think it got really well received, and I believe it got a heck of a lot of views, which is awesome. So
yeah, it did. It was one of my favorite interviews of the year, and part of it was just what a pleasant surprise that was. So Glenn, why don't you? I want to interview both of you, but I also want you to pull out some of the gold from Gary in this one. And
sure.
One thing I know for sure, it's a hostile marketplace. Actually, I interviewed someone and they called it a savage marketplace, and I'm like, I like that.
Yes.
With the last name of Savage, kind of feels like I was born for this market. But let's talk about why you framed the headline here of a hostile market, and then let's you and Gary just talk back and forth on some of the ideas and strategies that you're bringing to real estate and mortgage professionals today.
I love it. So what a compelling, and I think everybody's probably talking about this, and I tend to always be somebody as I'm teaching and as I'm explaining the titles that we come up with, this thing called thriving in a hostile market. And I think that we first need to start with the definition of what is a hostile market. What does hostility mean? And hostility is defined as something that is unfriendly or antagonistic. And for the loan originators out there and the realtors who are out there watching, certainly with the increased competition, certainly with suppressed commission rates, certainly with the rising rates, I mean, rates that are just going through the roof, the fact that there's fewer deals and more agents and more loan originators out there, the fact that there are mortgage companies and real estate companies trying to recruit agents from each other at a furious pace. Look at guys, that's unfriendly, that's antagonistic. When even though rates are going up, we're still seeing multiple offers on transactions. And that means that agents are going against each other. But we are also seeing a slowing in the market, which means these things called inspections are back into the marketplace. And there's nothing more antagonistic or unfriendly when you're a loan originator hoping to get that $480,000 loan closed and the deal falls because your realtor can't successfully negotiate a inspection. Inspections are back in the game. There's rising expenses, there's rising costs. And I know this for a fact. There are new rules and regulations on, we were writing an offer on a double for a first-time home buyer, and it's 15% down. Like the targets are moving, the rules are changing. And so all of the aforementioned things that I've just talked about create what is a hostile environment. Now, we can all identify what's hostile, but I think it's really important that those of you who are watching write down what's causing the unfriendliness and the antagonism that is going into your business now. And it might be great if you shared those, or if you sent those into Dave, or let me know, because whatever is unfriendly and antagonistic about your business, I want to help you solve that. I want to help you thrive. And so when we think about what thriving means, the definition of that.
Real quick, Glenn, I want to jump in because I really want to push the audience, guys. I'll be watching in Facebook. We've got a little bit, few of you in Zoom here, and I want to know what is, the most hostile thing in your mortgage practice. And if you can't think of anything personally, think about what do you think is most hostile for your real estate agents? What is the one or two things that are, the biggest challenges? We've got two amazing leaders on this call. I'd love to get some feedback from the audience. So get into that thrive part. But guys, I really want to push you. What's the biggest challenge or most hostile thing in your market right now or in your business?
I love it. You want me to keep going, Dave?
Yeah. No, I called you back. You keep going.
Cool.
Let's see what they.
All right.
And then we're gonna anything that comes in.
Cool. And then we'll bring Gary into this as well. And so the first thing that I want our people to do is let's identify what's hostile, what's unfriendly, what's going on, and let's try to solve that today. Then to thrive, right? The definition of thriving is to grow vigorously. Now, most people think of thriving as succeeding, closing more loans. But I tell you what, after the last 2 years, where if you breathed on a mirror, you could do a loan or a house, we didn't have time to grow. We didn't have time to self-assess. And now that there are fewer deals, now that there is maybe a little more time and a lessening of the demand on our times, I mean, for God's sakes, for the past 24 years, I know realtors and loan originators that were working 14, 16-hour days on refis and purchase business. They had no time to really focus on their growth. So one of the keys to thriving in a hostile environment is to really focus on how can I grow? How can I grow personally? Like, you should have a little more time now than you did in the past 2 years. And what are you doing in terms of personal development? What are you doing to grow personally? What are you doing in terms of physical fitness? And I think Gary can talk a little bit about this. So many of us were working so much, we were run down, we were eating out all the time. Certainly we were drinking more, and then we were exercising less. What is your physical well-being, and have you taken an inventory of it? And what is your vitality? Do you have the vitality and the energy to get people that want to engage and who are attracted to you? How about your numbers, right? I mean, certainly, yeah, we want our numbers to grow. That's great. But what about your education? When I talk about growing personally, one of the things I'm seeing is this ever-shifting rules and regulations on how to get a loan. I mean, how educated, how well do you know your product? How well do you know total cost analysis? Is now the time where you can start creating different ways to have total cost analysis come in and help you build your business. What about community service? Were you too busy, and were you withdrawn from the community? And we all need to understand, guys, community service is probably the number one way to prospect and build your mortgage business, period. And then realtor strategic planning. I'm going to tell you this, to grow vigorously in a hostile market, you need to, just like Dave suggested, understand what is going on that's hostile and unfriendly and antagonistic to your realtors. And do you have a strategic plan to help those real estate agents with what is going on that's tough? And then the last thing I want to talk about, and then I'll throw it to Gary, is this thing called future casting. And I've mentioned this all the time with you guys, but look, at rates will go down. And are you positioning your marketing so that when they do go down, you're going to be the first immediate call right now? Like, do you have AI? Do you have a trigger that, it may be 6 months, it may be 8 months, maybe 4 months. When those rates push down another point and a half, boom, you're at the top of mind and it's happening. The time for you to just explode when rates go low, the time is now to position yourself for that opportunity. So with that, I asked Gary, and I know Dave loves these story, but I'd love Gary to talk to us about, Gary, your throughout your life, when was the most hostile time that you've been involved with? Maybe some people that you know that have been through some hostile times, and what did they do to thrive in a hostile time? Love to just hear any personal story or those of fellow players or people that you have worked with.
Yeah, no, that's great. I really love your points that you mentioned in terms of your self-development, growing with fitness, with mindset. And I think it takes me back to a time in a hostile environment where I was a walk-on in college. And I know if you follow my NFL career, the 9-year NFL player, captain of a Super Bowl team, but I had to initially walk on to college. And that was extremely, challenging because, finances weren't there for my family to afford to be able to pay. And in fact, one semester, my father gave me a call and told me that he couldn't afford tuition. So my hostile, I was going to have to go home, from college. And I think so many times when we're in these hostile environments, we start getting frantic and we start doing things that maybe are uncharacteristic of ourselves. And one of the things that I just want to encourage people to do is just to remain calm, but you have to act with a sense of urgency. So when I heard this information, I was calm, but I was very urgent in terms of my practice habits, in terms of what I performed on the field, the things that I can actually control. And I think that's critical when you're thinking about a hostile environment, because so many things are happening outside of your control. But if you could just focus on what you could control, and that's what I did, I was able to get a scholarship. And I was able to relieve that financial burden from my parents. And I think the next point you made about positioning yourself for when rates drop, and I just thinking about a book that I read. It was called "Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty," and it was a phenomenal book. And the book really spoke about what can you do now to position yourself for the future. And I think this is the laws of gravity, laws of the world, and one of the laws are we reap what we actually sow. And the question is what are you doing now to sow? What are you doing now to position yourself for when those rate drops, for when that uncertainty happens, that you're there as someone of value that can give someone some information that's going to help relieve some of their stress and help them maintain their calmness and actually push through a deal. So I think some of these things that I think about when we're talking about hostile environments, it really comes to that personal development. It really comes to growing as a person individually, because in life, I don't think we stay the same. I think in life, we either get better or we get worse. So the question is what are you doing for yourself, your personal life and your business life to make sure this time next year that you're better than what you are right now?
I love it. I love it. Dave, are you want to add to any of that, or do you have any questions? He's probably busy doing something, which is okay. He's coming back. Hopefully we got some Facebook people asking questions right now.
We do. So it looks like the most common challenges in the market today, you can tell it's loan officers because one, it's rate shopping. They're saying, hey, it's not as easy, shop more. And then two, just leads, not as many opportunities out there. Now, one thing I know for sure is I know there are loan officers that are actually up in this market. They're actually having a better year this year than last year. And I just got off the phone with someone who did 120 million last year. Refis are down, but purchases are up. So one thing I know for sure is that loan officers can actually be up this year. It is possible. I know a number of loan officers that are up, and I've interviewed those loan officers. But what do you have to say to any loan officer or realtor on the leads piece of things? And I don't know if you want to tackle the rate shopping or not, but I'd love to hear from you and Gary on that. And then I would love to share a few ideas.
Cool. So I'll jump in. Certainly look at rate shopping as an issue that is, hey, even in good markets, people get rate shopped, right? And in higher markets, people get rate shopped as well. But I will also tell you that I know this, that If I can save a person time because of my education, because of my professionalism, and because of my process, time is money. And I know that, there are rate shoppers in the market, but let's be honest, there's a lot of people that aren't rate shoppers. I just bought a commercial building and I shopped, right? Like I didn't shop. I kind of went in on a commercial loan and it was 6.75%. It was high. And the next thing I knew, somebody offered me a 4.75% rate. Now, did I shop that other bank? No. But did somebody hear that I was out in the marketplace looking for a loan, and did they contact me? Yes. And I'm going to end up obviously going with a lower rate. But what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is I wasn't the one shopping. I got shopped by another loan originator. And I think loan originators, not only can you reverse shop or reverse engineer that sales process, but I think you can also say, hey, look at, maybe my rates might be an eighth, might be a half more, but I'm able to help you in different ways. We all know this. I mean, hell, people are going to give you lower rates, but what's the pricing on the front end? So, rate shopping is something that's never going to stop. It is going to continue to be hostile, no matter if it's in a good market or a bad market. So that's all I would tell you. That is an eternal, forever lasting, doesn't matter what the market is, you're always going to get rate shopped, and it's always going to be one of the biggest, toughest deals.
Hey, real quick, let's pause on that because I want to talk about this a little bit, and I do think things have changed. I mean, let's face it, rate shopping and price shopping is always a thing, but the last 2 years, it wasn't as much of a thing, especially for the mortgage industry and the real estate industry, because it was just such a demand generate, the market. It was a market where if you were in the mortgage business, fish were jumping in the boats. And if you were a real estate business, guys, you just got a listing and you knew it was going to sell. But now, I do think going forward, differentiation, selling with value is absolutely essential. I mean, we're going into an era where there will be discount providers on both sides, whether it's in mortgage or real estate. And because of technology, because of social media, they're gonna give you bigger and better than ever. But if you're local, referral-based professional, like value selling is a must. What are your thoughts on that, Glenn?
So just, the bottom line is this: we saw rate suppression at an all-time high on the real estate side. Put my home in the market, it's going to sell, cut your fee. And so we found that there was more rate suppression and more competitive, lower discount brokerage people in the bigger market than there is now. It's actually easier for realtors to charge more when the market slows. So we were in you talk about a hostile market.
Standpoint, it was. And by the way, what are fees now average in different marketplaces? Where are we at?
Right. So obviously there's no fixed fee, right? And they're negotiable, but I would say from market to market, as I go around the country, you're as low as 5 and as high as 7 in a residential setting. And usually those co-ops are split 50-50. But quite often what we find, our listing agents are now keeping higher fees, and they're cooperating at a lower rate for people that represent buyers, which is even, tougher. When you go and you see the listing agents making several thousand more than the buyer's agent, that creates what we call unfriendly and antagonistic relationships in the real estate space, right? And I think that's going to continue. So, our industry is so based on cooperation with other brokers, and this is things that we need to work on. And this is what I help real estate agents work on, is how to become more cooperative, more friendly, and more collaborative in the sales process instead of beating the hell out of each other. Real estate agents will eat their young. Loan originators, you're on one side of the deal. But how loan originators can differentiate, Dave, and how loan originators can create value is by being a leader in the marketplace, creating community and creating programs that actually put realtors together, that get realtors talking, that get realtors collaborating and giving them ideas on how to have a more positive experience when they're out there in the marketplace, you know, battling for business. So just my thought on that.
Cool. Well, I'll let you keep going. I know you were going to get into leads, and I'll let you and Gary do a round on that, and then I'll come back in with some ideas.
Sure. So, you know, what I would just say, and Gary, I'm going to want to get your opinion. I'll go ahead and just kind of float this out and see what you think. But when I look at the problem of loan originators, right, and the biggest problem is, hey, we don't have the leads, we don't have the deals. The bottom line is if you look at how many sides are done in your local marketplace, there's plenty of deals for you to get. The best thing you can do, as Dave said, is differentiate and give value to the real estate agent. And I guess what I'm going to say is, I think the way you can differentiate yourself is to be a relaxed loan originator, to be a positive, friendly loan originator, and to be somebody that is prepared, that will save a real estate agent time. And so the problems that I see are stressed out agents and stressed out loan originators. You know, the very interesting thing, when you look at the 10 most stressful jobs in America, they're teachers, social workers, reporters, emergency dispatchers, nurses, policemen, pilots, firefighters, surgeons, and military personnel. You know what? Loan originators and realtors, we don't have one of the top 10 stressful jobs in America. Now, I can tell you that the most stressful process that consumers go through will tell you it's buying and moving a home, and it's going through a loan application. So I think we first need to realize that, there are people that have far worse and more stressful jobs than us. But we also, the paradox of it is, we have to realize that the people we're dealing with are feeling extremely stressed. So if you're stressed and you don't have the calm that Gary talked about, and we see this in football all the time, you know, the coach that loses his mind is the coach whose teams lose. You've got to have a framework, a mental framework that you can stay calm to help all these people that are freaking out and that are totally stressed. And so what I wanted to talk a little bit about were just some solutions for you as loan originators to reduce your stress, to become more attractive, to be a little bit different, which will then in turn create your leads. So you can get leads, but if you're not in a position to convert your leads, then what is getting leads even going to do? And I can promise you this, that if you're not planned, if you don't have the proximity, and if you're not delivering value, just like we talked about earlier in this call, you're probably not going to get those calls either. So I just had two big problems that I wanted to address, which is spending too much time doing the wrong things. And I just think loan originators need to ask themselves, what do I do that generates the most money for me in my business? And that may be calling on realtors. It may be doing Facebook calls. It may be doing realtor luncheons. It may be doing lunch and learns. It may be doing total cost analysis. It may be creating a Facebook group for first-time home buyer. I don't know what it is. But now is the time to become niched, to identify the number one most profitable thing you do and start spending 80% of the time on that, and start delegating everything else that happens. And then I think the other thing, and I mean this, I'm sincerely mean this, is I see loan originators who are burned out and they're just done. And they made 800 grand, they made $1 million, they made 750. And they're like, I'm taking this time off. I can't tell you how many loan originators and realtors are like, oh, thank God it slowed down. I mean, it's great. And so I think instead of being tired all the time, now is the time to grab a hold of a week and just unplug and do it, because real estate agents and buyers pay you for two things. They pay you, number one, to be creative and to number two, solve problems. And I think when you're burned out, you cannot be creative. And I think it's the creative the creative loan originator who can add the value, who can solve the problems of the day in that hostile environment. So, I mean, as crazy as this sounds, I'm saying take a week, go enjoy NFL football and make it happen. Spend 80% of the time doing what you love most. And then the bottom line is this, I know this sounds weird too, but it's time to bring fun back into the deal. So how much fun are you having being a loan originator? How much fun are you having with your agents? How much fun are you having with your current mailing list? How much fun are you having with the people you did refis for with the past 24 months? Because I can promise you this, everybody you're doing business with now, they're going to be refining in the next year or two. So Gary, tell me what your thoughts are on that. And we'll go back to Dave after you're done.
Yeah, now I love what you said about potentially taking a week off. And if you do take a week off, I would love for you to strategize. You talked about the last few years not having enough time to work on professional development. You really work on the plan. It's crazy to me that some people go up to the line of scrimmage and don't have a play call. I mean, you would never see that happen in the NFL, right? But some loan originators every single day go to their office and they don't know what plays are called. And They just figure it out. And I think you can't win in that way. So one of the things that I love, and I teach some of the business coaches that I work with and some of my clients, is the 6 Ps, right? Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. So proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. So the thing for me is like, how are you preparing yourself? And we talk about adding value. Well, there's a lot of ways you can add value. And one of the ways that that's great about this 21st century Web 3.0 is online and social media. So there's a few things I think from a lead generation standpoint that you have to do if you're really serious about growing your business and getting leads. The first thing I would say, do a social media audit. When's the last time that you looked at your social media, your LinkedIn, your Alignable, your Instagram, your Facebook? Is your contact information correct? Is your job correct? Are you still at that same place that you have on your social media content? Do you still look the same? Or are you what is it called? Showing up like and looking totally different than what your profile picture says you look like? So you should have a professional profile picture because people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And I think looking at your social media and figure out, are you that person? Number two, do you have a brand identity? Are you just posting just to post? Or do you have a strategy and a brand behind what you're posting and people can count on you for something? Are you consistent? Every Monday, you're going to tell them something about this. Every Tuesday, you're going to tell them something about this. You have a newsletter when you're adding value. All these things are all free, organic things that you can do. The third thing, we talk about adding value. Do you have a podcast or do you have a series that you do to educate, right, the people that want to do business with you? Because if I'm going to go get a loan from someone, am I going to get it from someone from the Yellow Pages, or I'm going to get it from someone that I follow online that has been educating me the last 6 months of what rates are doing, what they could potentially do? I'm going to follow someone who I deem to be an expert. And that only happens if you do this, and that's being consistent. You got to be consistent. And the great thing I love with sports is they're so transferable, is the one quote that I used to hate when I was a player, but now I love it. And it's don't get bored doing the right things. So if you have a strategy in place and you've been doing that strategy and you're winning on that strategy, the worst thing you could do is stop implementing that strategy, right? Some people start off posting on fire, adding value, doing content. Then all of a sudden they stop because things are good, but then the leads dry up. So you have to be consistent, not getting bored doing the right thing. And then if you have all those things in place, and if you have the wherewithal and ability to, then I would definitely add a paid ad strategy to that. It's very lucrative now if you can figure out how you can put SEO on your website, how you can maybe put money into Google ads, on Facebook ads, very targeted, add value for some lead magnets, something like that, where you can actually start attracting the community and then adding value to these people that, like you said, not only are going to purchase, but are definitely going to refi when those rates come down. So I think, doing the due diligence, doing the legwork, and looking like you're expert online is going to do wonders for you in terms of lead generation.
Awesome stuff, Gary.
Love those quick hits, Gary. And here's what I want everyone to do, and where I want to go next is let's get some specific action items for folks. And I want to share a few slides, share a few thoughts. And I actually have questions for both you and Gary. I want to get your validation on this. So one thesis I have, whether it's short-term, like I need loans now, or whether it's long-term, I want to build a real estate or mortgage practice that's like a residual income machine, you know? And I do believe, no, I don't believe, I know for a fact that there are loan officers that they know how many contacts they have in their database, and they know a minimum amount of loans or a minimum amount of houses they're going to sell because of how they manage their database. So my first question for you and Gary is, what do you think the right number is? You know, like this is a slide that's part of our Mortgage Coach Sales Boomerang training platform, and I can't remember the exact source of this, but the source said that the average consumer is buying 5 houses over the course of their lifetime. Now, I've seen data that says it's more like 3 houses over the course of a lifetime on average. You know, Glenn, what's your take on number of, you know, real estate transactions? And this can include second homes, this can include investment properties, primaries. What are your thoughts on lifetime value of a consumer?
So, yeah, I mean, lifetime value of a consumer isn't how many homes they buy in their lifetime. The lifetime value of a consumer is how many people that they fearlessly and staunchly refer you, and they go, don't you use another real estate agent, don't you use another loan person. So, you know, whether it's 3 or 7, I don't care. It's the 100 referrals that my raving fan can get me, right? And it's the I always, and I've said this before, I don't want to prospect one-on-one. I want to prospect 40-on-1. So how can I get that prospect that I sold a home to invite me into their BNI group, to invite me into their corporation to do how to own a home training? That's how I see the lifetime of a customer. So 3 to 7, great. That's good. 3 to 7, average commission, 10 grand, 70,000. That's good. But wow, what if I could get these people to refer me 1 home a year, 1 deal a year at 15,000 a commission for the next 40 years? Well, that number is a hell of a lot bigger. So it's not about the one-touch lifetime value of the customer. It's about being strategic, serving that customer. It's not about being a trusted advisor. We've talked about this. It's about being a trusted resource. There needs to be the people in your CRM. You don't want them to see you as an advisor. That means they call you once. You want them to see you as a resource. In other words, anytime anything has to do with them financing their property, doing a HELOC, it may be something that's totally not even relevant to what you do. You want your CRM engaging with you because you're the primary resource for them. My CRM calls me when they replace their roof, when they need a new door, when they need a sewer drain done, if they need a home warranty, whatever it may be, they're calling me constantly. Remember, marketing is not about me getting my name out there. It's about me getting your name into my database. So I love that graphic, Dave. I think it's really, really good. But I think it's a 3-dimensional diagram that you should be putting up there, not just a 1-dimensional diagram. Gary, what's your thoughts on the life cycle and lifetime value of a customer?
Yeah, I think you really nailed it in terms of, not only selling them a home, but having them be your brand ambassador and doing your marketing for you and going out telling everyone how great of a resource you are, and they're going to get you more homes. So that's the first thing. The second thing is it all goes down to targeting and marketing and who's your avatar. If that's a statistic, then you just have to look at what niches are you going after. Because there are other group of people, whether they're investors, whether they're people that move a lot, that probably purchase a lot more homes than that. So it's just about like, what are you doing to target the right people? And then not only that, what type of programs are you offering them? if you know you're with a CEO or a senior vice president who's job hopping, he went to three places in the last 7 years, chances are he's going to move again. So staying in close proximity to him, when he does that, I think is a great idea. So I think all home buyers aren't created the same. There's definitely ones that are more amped to move, more amped to travel, more amped to buy more houses. And I think you need to put them in buckets and then message them in ways they want to get messaged to. The people that have bought their house, have been in there 20 years, yeah, they're probably going to be there for a while. But the people that move all the time, I think it's different messaging and different programs that we can advertise to them that they're going to make them more attractive.
And just to self-promote a bit, Gary and I have a program called Don't Be an Order Taker, Be a Playmaker, which talks about, Gary does a great job on branding and a great job on marketing. I'm more linear when it comes to sales, but we'd love to work with any of you guys on how to become a playmaker, not an order taker. Check us out at glenbill.com, Purchase Mentality. So that's still coming out and we're still developing it, but it's been fun. We've been working with a few different local loan originators and it's working for them. So just a little plug.
We'll put a link in chat on that. If you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be a link. And as we wrap this up, we'll remind you all on that because I like that. We all want to be playmakers.
All day.
That's where it's at. So, I don't have an edit to what you said, but I do want to make sure one point is made here, guys, is that you can measure this. If you have a database and you have X number of people that are past clients in that database, you can measure it every month. You can look at how many loans did I close, how many houses did I sell, what percentage of my past customer database that is. It's easy to measure, and I want you all to measure it. And then the referral point, very good point. And I am going to make another slide that talks about the potential referrals. Like if you create a client for life, you're right. Like, I know some loan officers where they don't consider someone like a past client until they've closed business with them and they've got a referral. It's like, okay, I got a customer now. So that's something that you need to measure, and what you measure gets improved. Now, here's a couple more questions for both of you guys. At Mortgage Coach and Sales Boomerang, we believe like no borrower left behind. We want everyone to get a loan. And there's a lot of loan officers and realtors that this is what their database looks like. And then, of course, we know all the big fintech companies, all the big players, they have big data. They know what's going on in that database. They know who's likely to be doing a transaction. So, and Glenn, I think Mortgage Coach and Sales Boomerang now, we're building what we call a borrower intelligence platform, where there's signals in a database, and then those signals create insights. And then Mortgage Coach and Sales Boomerang, we create what we call strategies, where we'll automate a presentation. So here's my questions for you. We're training all of the Mortgage Coach community that when they get a cash out insight, because they know what someone's debt is, they know what their credit is, they know how much equity it is, that yeah, you're a loan officer and you want to do a cash out refi. You know what you want more is you want to give a realtor an opportunity to do a CMA and show whether that makes sense. So what would be some scripting recommendations you'd have for the Mortgage Coach community that when they get these cash out alerts or they get life alerts, like, hey, someone just had a baby, what could they say that would help tee up an opportunity for a realtor? Any thoughts on that?
Fantastic. Yeah, I just did a podcast with Jeffrey Getter where we talked about strategies and language and scripts that talking to people that you don't even know, right? And so I came up with a couple things that said, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, and you're wanting to know what they can talk to a real estate agent about. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, we have a bunch of different alerts, whether it's a life alert, hey, they had a baby, they got a new job, and then we have equity alerts.
Sure.
And I would love to, and I'm trying to teach the Mortgage Coach community, hey, get these alerts.
Right.
But you're a purchase first loan officer. So when you get this alert, is there a purchase first opportunity where you could tee up a conversation with an agent? So you're driving both, loan.
Yeah. So
real estate deals.
Yeah, and so, I think it's just as simple as this. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I'm just curious, would you be interested in seeing what your options are to improve your real estate life, right? Or to improve your home? Are you happy with where you live? Are there amenities in your home that you wish you had more of? Are there amenities in your home that you don't have currently? Are you aware of the unbelievable values that are out in the marketplace right now? Do you think it might be worth a weekend to see if there's other opportunities that you could take a hold of that would make your life better? I always like to say this, how much do you love your spouse? Because if they want a new home, now's the time to get it. And that always brings a laugh and a bit of senility between people. But the bottom line is, I think it's to talk about the opportunity, it's to talk about life improvement, and it's to identify what a new property could really do, right? Like, it's that simple. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I know you want to cash out for 60 grand, but what if I could show you how to move within a half a mile of your children's school? Just think about all the time you would save by not driving, right? So I think the question is what are all the advantages of moving? And then that's how you tee up the question. I hope that answers your question. But the bottom line is, everybody always wants more. Everybody always wants to improve what they have. And the reality is the environment of higher interest rates provide that opportunity now more than ever. I mean, the bottom line is, I don't mind paying a higher rate if I get a lower price for a home. I don't mind paying a higher rate because my selection actually is better, even though we have inventory problems. I don't mind paying a higher rate because I can negotiate a better deal. And I think the law of averages will tell us, and I could be wrong, but if you did a 1-year ARM, you're probably going to be at the same rate you were anyway. And my financial planners, they do 1-year adjustable rates every single day. So I think, again, not to overuse the term future casting, but you need to get those people that are looking to cash out and say, look, there's opportunities. And I think you deserve, your family deserves to go look at other opportunities out in the marketplace to improve your life. And if that sounds like something you want to do, I got just the real estate agent that you should really talk to.
So tell me what you think of this. So first of all, mortgage coaches, make sure you have your head on that people aren't getting loans because they want loans, and get loans because they want homes. And the goal is financial freedom. So just when you're thinking about that customer with that cash out alert, be thinking about a customer who has problems, and they want to optimize their equity, and they want to optimize their liabilities. So I would almost make it like A or B. Hey, one, we can look at how to optimize your liabilities, and we can analyze your current liabilities, but it's important that you're also optimizing your equity and your lifestyle. And if that's something that's interesting, like, this may be the time to really look, hey, what does that move up home look like in the market? And could you use your equity, and could you use your liabilities? There are people that could actually move up, get more lifestyle, get an extra bedroom, and they can actually lower their monthly payment by leveraging their equity, by analyzing this. So would you be game if I put together some options for you, and I introduce you to a realtor that could do a CMA on your property? So Glenn, that sounds like that aligns with your philosophy. Like, we're telling them the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I saw on the podcast, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. I saw you have a cash out refinance. What if I could make your life better and lower your monthly payment and your credit card debt within the next 60 days? Would you be interested in that program? Boom. I mean, there's the closing. And I'd like to show you how I can do it. And I have a partner that I think would be awesome. So yeah.
Is there anything to add to that before I have the next question?
Yeah, I think it's great advice. I think oftentimes, people just assume, what's out there in the market. They assume what's out there. And I think for a mortgage person to say, hey, this realtor, he's an expert at what he does. He's going to give you some certainty of what the actual market looks like, what's available, what you can actually buy. Because there's so many people who convince themselves what they can afford, what they can buy, what's available before they even start looking. So I think, offer them a free consultation where, I'm going to give you this great realtor who's going to come educate you on what the market looks like, what's changing, what's available to you in your area. Would you be open to that? I think that really gets them excited, because then, that uncertainty of not knowing what's out there, if they can afford it, can all get solved by that introduction.
Love that. So here's another question, and love to get your scripting on this. So what do you say on life events? And let's focus on the two that I think are the most real estate relevant, which is newly married or the birth of a child. Like, the real estate business is the life event business, because usually when people do that move up, whether it's a first-time home buyer, it had to do with the life event. What are your thoughts on any scripting when calling on these life events? And let's leave death out. Like that's obviously, maybe we want to check out on Facebook, but I think it's a radically different call, or a radically different way to follow up as a salesperson.
I think, Dave, especially after what we've just seen, that Mr. and Mrs. home buyer, or Mr. and Mrs. life event person, one thing that I always know is that people want financial freedom. And the one thing I'm sure, especially that we've seen in the past 3 years, is that 80% of the people that we interview talk about what has created financial freedom in their life. And that vehicle is real estate. When you look at the most wealthy people in America, it's real estate that they own. And when you look at the people that didn't buy homes 5 years ago who waited, compared to the people that did buy homes 5 years ago who didn't wait, those people have an average of $100,000 more of net worth than the ones that didn't. Now, since you just had a baby, don't you think it's probably something you should consider when it comes to net worth on owning real estate?
Love that. So let me get one more from you. So our current playbook on that, and I'm going to edit it now for life events, is just congrats on blank. And that's just to make a point, like call up like you're someone's friend. And remember, guys, that is our job, to become their friend, become their financial friend, become their financial freedom friend. Like that is who we want to be to that consumer, their friend. But we got some notes to add to that. Now, what about an equity watch, where one of our mortgage coaches gets this equity watch? Right now they're doing something like this. They're doing some conversation. They're always talking, move up. So that scripting you had, talking about how to move up. Anything that you would push, like let's just say it was your mortgage partner, and they had this borrower intelligence platform, and they were calling. Is there any leadership, any advice you'd give them?
Well, I would also say this, Mr. and Mrs. Life event person. This is Glenn Bill with mortgage company or whatever. This is going to be it's not really on the realtor tee-up side, but, I personally have created massive amounts of wealth by doing the 15-year loan, right? And so this isn't really to tee up a realtor. And I don't know, Dave, if that's what you were looking for, but I think sometimes it's not my job to tell you the easiest thing or the sexiest thing, but it is my job to tell you how to create more net worth than anybody else that's in your database or in your relationships. And I just think, to simply put, in 5 years, I want you to take a look at a 30-year loan and a 15-year loan, and you look at the difference of your net worth in 5 years, what that looks like. Do you think that that's something that's beneficial for you and your family? And then in that 5 years, when you have that added net worth, just think about the home you're going to be able to purchase in the next 5 years with that added net worth. So I don't know if that answered your question, Dave. If you want me to give you a real estate thing on that home equity line, would be Mr. and Mrs. homeowner. One of the great ways we've been able to help people increase your net worth is through this thing called investment real estate. And I want to introduce you to a real estate agent who has doubled his net worth and value, has increased his cash flow by $500 a month, and who will show you how to purchase one of the biggest assets you've ever owned and have other people pay for it. Would you be interested in talking with my real estate friend?
Love that. Love that. Gary, anything you want to add to that?
I think the one, if we could go back, I think the one marriage thing that we had, one of the things when people come together, a lot of them have their own separate living quarters, but I think offering them some sort of a quiz that they could take together to figure out what kind of home fits both their needs. And I think you could go modern, you go old, mature trees, newer trees, you could go square footage wise, you could go pool, no pool, are they going to have kids, how many bedrooms? And then with that criteria, if you then were able to do an MLS search and then send them some options from which were their criteria selected, I think that'd be a great way to kind of like merge, like someone just got married, they just came up with these thoughts of what they're looking for, what their dream home would be. You have the wife, now the dream home, and then sending them options of what's available. I think that could really be very smart and intelligent in terms of targeting those married people and identifying what they want, having them give that quiz that they shared together, and then have that data to kind of send them some information to some homes that are available.
Love that, guys. Well, hey, every mortgage coach, make sure you know what type of opportunities are in your database. Make sure you realize every database has alerts taking place. Make sure you know what those are. I do want to share one TCA because it lines up with that future casting. This is a pretty common TCA for everyone, where Jeremy Forcier is not only showing interest rate options, he's showing that, hey, what could rates be in the future? And remember, if you've got a great database, rates will fall again. It's not a question of if they will, it's when will they fall? How fast will they fall? What kind of opportunity that creates for you? And a lot of that has to do with how good a job have you done managing those relationships, making sure that you got a CRM that has borrower intelligence in it. So we're at the 5-minute mark, and I want to make sure, Glenn, anything you want to make sure gets covered. I want to remind everybody, to sign up for the Playmaker program. I'm going to show that on my database real quick. Well, actually, before you do your closing thought, I just want to make sure people know what this is, because I wouldn't have invited Glenn if I didn't think it would be an hour of value. But the way you get the most value from Glenn is that you sign up for his programs and you get trained. So tell everybody what this is again, this get purchase mentality training.
Yeah, so mortgage companies, they're mirroring you, Dave, all the time. But if you scroll back to the top and just scroll up just a little bit, mortgage companies call me because they say, Glenn, we got to get people the mentality of doing purchase mortgages, right? And so if you just scroll it up, this kind of shows you.
I'm all the way at the top, aren't I?
Well, scroll it down then.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go, right there. So what we go into in the purchase loan mentality, how to be a play maker, not an order taker, are the 4 mentalities of success. And we work with loan originators on their expectation, their skills, communication, effort, and value. Are you really putting in the effort? And we actually give you 10 ways to know if you actually know your real estate agent, and 12 ways to lead in and engage with a realtor. These are concrete things that work, not because I say they work, because I'm your customer. And sometimes, loan originators love to train loan originators, but loan originators aren't their own customers. And so this is a comprehensive program that is how to get inside the heart and mind of a real estate agent. This information came from thousands of interviews and thousands of hours of interviewing real estate agents on why they do what they do. We have a self-assessment on there. You can put it in and put in your name and email.
Put in your name and email, and that's how to get started here. Go to this page, and we gave you a link. Put in your name, put in your email, and click right here, right?
Yeah, click on the get the assessment, and there'll be an assessment that will give you an assessment on your skills, on your effort, on your strategies, all that stuff. And then if you want, me and whoever want to do it, me, you, and Gary will sit down and go through your assessment, and then we will create a strategy to help you 10x your mortgage business.
I love it. I love it. So Gary, we got 4 minutes left. Any closing thoughts? Anything you want to make sure gets shared before we run out of time?
Yeah, I think so many times, you know, we so busy working in our business that now we're not working on our business. So I think really taking a reset, right, before we finish off the year strong, head into the fourth quarter, and really figuring out where you're at now, how did you get here, and where do you want to be for the rest of the year? And I think I've always felt like, you know, the fourth quarter finishing out a year is so critical, not only for this year finishing strong, but setting yourself up for success for next year. And I think I see so many people, whether, you know, calling in too early or rest on what they've done and not like keep their foot on the gas, and they miss out on so many opportunities. And then next year they're upset because they didn't set themselves up for success. So I think now is a great time to really start focusing on what can you do to finish strong and then start fast heading into next year.
I will tell you this, if you do not plan for a huge fourth quarter, your competition will. And hey, football's kicking off. We're football guys. You watch how many teams this weekend go into the fourth quarter and lose by the end of the game. Just keep a little note of that and look at their body language, look at their energy level, look at their strategy, look at their mistakes, right? Look at what happens. You will see the pressure in the NFL weekend of people biting it. And that's what happens when you don't show up prepared in the fourth quarter. And that's what we want to try to help all of you guys do.
So I just had an idea, because so many games are won and lost in the fourth quarter. And in the, you know, in the world of business, it's you're setting up Q1, you know, like you win fourth quarter, you're basically setting yourself up to win the whole next year. So why don't you and Gary plan to do a whole presentation? We'll get it on the calendar. I think we might have a time scheduled.
We do.
It's how to win the fourth quarter. And you're coming to loan officers and mortgage professionals. And let's plan on making this one that loan officer, mortgage coaches need to invite their realtors to. So anyone listening to this, the next call will be how to win in the fourth quarter by, you know, two amazing leaders who both love football. Of course, one is a former Super Bowl champion, who's also the team captain. Just saying, Glenn.
Yes, sir.
So Gary, you will be in the captain seat on that one. And Glenn and I will just be like, you plan to lead this fourth quarter, and Glenn and I will, or maybe we'll even have Glenn interview you, but we'll figure it out. Just know, guys, we've got something amazing coming. Glenn, so grateful for you, brother. You always pump me up. Linda Buchanan, who is an amazing mortgage coach and mortgage leader in Southern California, said, thank you. I needed this call.
Oh,
I'm
cool.
sure she's not the only one, but she did put it in writing in chat.
Nice.
Thank you, Brendan. You're a treasure to the mortgage coach community. Gary, thank you for second time in the mortgage coach community. I'm looking forward to meeting you in the real world one day, and you know, looking forward to how to win in the fourth quarter by you and Glenn.
Right. And I'll just add, I always love this, and I know Gary will do it. We will identify the 5 biggest mistakes people make as they enter into the fourth quarter, and then we will give you 10 strategies to win. And that way you'll leave with 15 tangible action items after our talk on that fourth quarter.
First of all, we email that to me today so we can create the marketing, and we'll even start promoting this a week ahead of time with the 5 and the 10. So
yeah,
you don't have to give me what the 5 and 10 are, but give me some marketing copies so we can really rocket launch this next call.
We'll do it.
All right, guys. Hope you got value. Give this a like if you did. Share it with your mortgage friends. Share it with your realtors. Gary and Glenn, appreciate you both.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Take care, mortgage coach.
Let's go.